Right. So it's loads of stuff as you go around. Animals walking down the hill. These different vehicles. Yeah, what do we see? There is a duck. That is duck on your shoulder. Well, here we are. We've now found Mark and Maria, Deer Park Farm in France at the battlefield. This is where he's living in the back. He says it's very comfortable. Bit unhappy about the weather. There's his tank. He said another bloody tank's come along and screwed up the pavements. Doesn't know if the mayor will let them go on tomorrow. Here's the trailer. Now, Mark, let's have a quick word about this. How did you get underway eventually now?
How did we get underway?
Well, you're a bit late starting, where you were going days, and then I don't know what happened. They rebuilt the engine. What happened?
We had a bit of a mechanical problem with the radiator.
Oh, really?
On the truck. It was blocked solid, so we had to unblock it. Eventually we got it all running perfectly, loaded up and left at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, when was the last time this transporter was actually going on the roads with you, with the tank?
The tank, I would say the trailer hasn't been used for 10 years.
Really? And where did you get the trailer from?
The trailer came from Belgium.
When?
Oh, about 3 years ago.
That's why we don't need the one on the farm anymore.
Pass.
So, what about the tank? Where did you get that from?
The tank came from the Warnham War Museum in West Sussex.
How long ago was that?
Had that now about three years.
3 years?
Yeah.
And was it working well at the time?
Yes, it was all working, still is.
So still haven't any problems with it?
No, we've done a bit of work on it, usual maintenance.
What about the lorry?
The lorry's a total rebuild.
When did you get that?
What have we had that now? About 6 months.
Is that all? Oh my goodness, where did you get that from?
That came from Holland.
Oh, Holland.
Yeah.
You get that cheap?
Quite cheap.
What?
Quite cheap.
Right. And how have you been enjoying yourself here?
Yes, it's great. Apart from the weather, but it'll dry up. Right. They didn't seem to worry about the weather in 1944, did they?
No, no.
Choice.
Any sort of messages for anybody back home?
Hope everybody's well and happy, and happy and well then.
All right. Well, Maria, you enjoying yourself?
Oh, yes.
All right, what have you done to get the thing on the road?
Sorry?
What have you done to help to get it on the road?
Oh, she's kitted out the
all
back.
sorts.
What?
All sorts.
All sorts.
Back in.
I see, well done. Well, it's good to see you here.
What we decided is it's Malcolm Marie.
Yeah?
Or somewhere in France.
And what's the name of the tank?
No, it's Shaggy
What do you call
Dog.
it? What?
Shaggy Dog.
Shaggy Dog.
Yeah, come with you.
All right. Well, there we are. There's the name, Shaggy Dog.
Hercules.
Here's the Diamond T981, named for Hercules. I suppose John Kids will have in his records. You know exactly which one this is and where it came from, what it cost.
happen.
Well, there we are. There's the tank, and there's the Diamond T, and there's the trailer and Marie, and here's everybody else all down here.
They're all
massive place.
They're all Shermans. They're all M4A1 Canadian Grizzlies.
Yeah.
And they're all British. They're all on British markings.
So what else is there here?
Quite a considerable amount of equipment. This is the only 3 Shermans here on the site. I think we seem to have quite a lot of publicity anyway for that because of the shortage of tanks.
Really? So we've got good publicity.
So it seems to be quite good publicity.
Oh, well done. And are you a member of an organisation here?
Yeah, I'm a member of the Military Vehicle Trust.
That's what it is.
So
yeah.
really, you know, you've got to give them credit. They've done a good job. They can't help the weather. They put everything together. We've got nice showers. We've got good toilets. Although we provide our own toilets, plenty of facilities. Yeah, good. Can't complain at all. You know, it's not their fault that the place is like
Exactly.
deep in mud.
Well, you've done a very good job getting here. Let's hope Deer Park Farm flourishing.
Sure.
Well, there's the whole camp. I've joined up with Elizabeth's car. And here looking down is a very good view of the outside of Mulberry Harbour. There's Allemans to the left of the church down over the hill. And here on the way back we come to a lovely church, a beautiful Norman arch. And the figures above. And herringbone on the walls, which I think I'm told could be Queen William the Conqueror. Well, here we are at Port of Bessin. There we are, all ready to go. The flags are flying. And there is the harbour. This is where Pipeline Pluto came in. We're now going to find the corporal. And we're going to meet the mayor, who we hope will give Peter a big kiss.
Rather than stand outside, it's probably we got orders to put the gun. If you want to take a piece of a lot of lady idol
unlike Peter, you actually made it. You got here.
Yes. And very fortunately,
Come see the rest of them.
I went right the way through, up the coast,
Yeah.
the Walcheren and Capelsomere.
Nobody ever heard of that.
Came out.
He was
Came out.
About as well, my brain was a bit scrambled, like, you know, but that's about all I can say about it.
Well done. And you now live in Nottingham.
I live in Nottingham just now, yes.
Well done.
Come and see the rest of them. My private cameraman with me.
Here we are. Just trying to take a record, a picture of all you boys.
No, I couldn't use it properly because of broke.
Unlike Peter, who never got you. You see, he tells me he was blown up in the sea.
I took a taxi somewhere else.
Yeah, well.
She will photograph you.
George, just a few words now, just a bit of memory. Now, you talking about Peter Winter. Now, you remember him when you joined, do you?
Yes, all the young ones.
What do you remember about him?
Well, actually, the physique, really. They were all, obviously, they weren't working class. They were all big, tall chaps and well fed. Big, tall. They were all big chaps. Yeah, they were. Yeah, I mean, typical public schoolboy types, you know.
Oh, I know, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Along with that, of course.
Yeah. Anyway.
But they made it. They were good lads. Very good officers.
They got it. You got to think it was.
And you were saying you landed on D-Day.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
And you survived. You got to point. What was it called? Point
7-2.
At the back. What time did you get there?
Midnight. I cleared that.
Midnight. And you were you were the you said the colonel's bodyguard.
Bodyguard, absolutely, yeah.
And then what happened on D+2? You left the colonel somewhere.
I was sent back on a job up in 72 again.
You had to get.
One of the about the state of some platoon troop state or something. I forget what it was. No,
Now, as far as I
And what happened
the
then?
Germans counterattacked.
if you got it the
Yes.
first day, it was back
We
on
got overrun.
You didn't have to come back
Most unfortunate. And then you say the RAF then...
HQ left at the top and he'll send me to you, see?
Yeah.
Same as you did. I didn't.
And then the RAF then came and struck
The next day, yeah, blasted the German headquarters.
And that was
Sorted
that.
that out.
When the first two boys came,
Oh well, so
took them both out of the mess.
anyway, so coming back here, you've got lots of friends here now.
Oh, that's really.
You know them all.
And when it
Oh,
was
no,
all
the
over,
lads, yes.
Oh, they're lovely.
I went to
Yeah.
say thank you.
Well, I'm very pleased to be seeing you.
Oh, that's
I think, and the French are pleased to see you.
Oh, I'm sure they are, yes. I know, yes.
Interesting story. Just said took a German sergeant prisoner,
And I went on to
and
say,
he said, "I want to go back and get some things for my wife, my French wife."
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, of course, it's French. Yeah.
she...
Now, come on now. Your name is,
Mint Birkinshaw.
and you were here on D-Day,
Yes.
and you're a bookie.
Well, I was.
You was.
Yes,
Now,
I'm a bookie.
You're a bookie. Now, can you give a message now to Peter's daughter, who I'll be seeing in a few days' time? We've got a message to Peter's daughter.
Well, all I say, wish her the best of luck and congratulate her on having a very good father.
Isn't that
I
right?
do.
Right. She couldn't have a better.
She couldn't have a better.
No.
Unless it were MacDoodle.
Now, we're just recording with our friend the bookie here that he's now got bets with 5 people, including me, 10 francs each, that Peter, we all say he will kiss the Maris tonight, and you say he won't.
I say he won't.
You say he won't.
That's tonight.
And I say that if we win, we'll be richer. Bookers are not normally poorer. And what do you say if we win?
I shall be in trouble.
You'll be what?
We're catching the boat home.
No one. He's my personal driver.
Is he?
And he was the man that I had to go and meet when I left you.
Oh, this is the man that had told me.
Yes, and he showed me the way.
Did he?
Came back on the shortcut.
Good. Have you paid him?
Not yet. No.
If you get any money out of winter, you'll be bloody lucky.
Corporal Roberts, are you going to join us as a bookie back here of yours? And we've got 5 of us who've got a bet on that he will kiss the Maris. So the bookie says he won't. 10 francs.
Well, if he wants to commit suicide.
One of my children thought that I was a very kind man, and it's to do with horse racing. She heard me say to my wife, I put my shirt on a bleeding horse that was scratched.
Did you hear that, George? One of his children, he noted that.
pour vous féliciter et vous remercier de la bravoure que vous avez fait preuve en 1944. Je ne vous ferai pas de long discours aujourd'hui, car ce n'est pas la journée des discours. Simplement, je souhaite que vous avez fait bon voyage, et je souhaite également que vous passerez un agréable séjour dans notre commune. Je dirais simplement un autre petit mot. Je tiens à remercier officiellement mes services qui se sont dépensés sans compter pour organiser votre venue, pour vous trouver des hébergements, pour essayer également de vous faire des distractions de façon à ce qu'en dehors des commémorations officielles, vous puissiez vous distraire. Je remercie donc en particulier mon maire adjoint, Madame Ginette Marie, qui s'est occupée des hébergements pendant des mois, et ça n'a pas été facile, croyez-moi. Voilà, c'est tout ce que je voulais vous dire pour aujourd'hui. Simplement... d'aborder les problèmes pratiques que je serai obligé de vous soumettre, étant donné que vous êtes en très grand nombre. Il faudra évidemment une certaine discipline pour l'ensemble des cérémonies. Auparavant, je souhaiterais remettre, ou plus exactement Madame Ginette Marie, par l'intermédiaire des enfants, souhaite remettre au 47e Commando, Monsieur Robbins, et au croiseur Georges Legge et Montcalm, un bouquet en souvenir de leur venue de Port-au-Bessin.
Thank you so much.
Alors, problème pratique, je crois que peut-être un certain nombre d'entre vous n'ont pas reçu les cartons d'invitation. C'est le cas du 47e Commando et nous allons donc leur remettre... Ça y est, c'est fait. Bon, alors ça a été fait. Tout de suite, là. Ah, très bien. Bon, alors je vois que pour le 47e Commando, ça a été fait. Mais certains, même des Anglais, n'ont pas eu d'invitation. Ils étaient en dehors de la liste. Donc je crois que M. Misérable devrait peut-être traduire cette phrase qui est très importante pour les Anglais.
Did any member of the 47th Royal Marine Commando get his personal invitation? No, they didn't.
Alors ceux qui ne l'ont pas eu viendront la chercher en mairie. Demain, lundi.
Those who didn't get the personal invitation can get it at the mairie, and they can get it tomorrow. Just one. One is missing. Mr. and Mrs.
Sur le parvis d'Empire. Malheureusement, étant donné le temps, nous avons déporté cette manifestation sous la criée. La criée est le grand bâtiment que vous verrez sur les quais, qui est la criée des pêcheurs. Donc vous êtes invités ce soir à 22h15 à cette diffusion de films et à un concert. Demain 5 juin, oui, allez-y, vous dites en anglais.
There is a film that has been made specially for the Montcalm and George Lake, the two French cruisers who were here on D-Day. It was supposed to be shown outside. Because of the rain, it's going to be shown in the major building, which is called La Criée, just outside of here. It will be shown at 10:15 p.m. tonight.
Vétéran du 47e Commando. Ensuite, le Georges Legge et le Montcalm.
For the 7th, the ceremonies will begin at 2:30, but it's very important that those who are going to be there should come at 2 sharp. They and you will be indicated to your seat.
À la sortie de l'église, il y aura un dépôt de verbe et une levée de drapeau au monument aux morts de Port-en-Bessin. Ensuite, nous irons près du centre culturel où nous inaugurerons la stèle, une nouvelle stèle pour le 47e Commando et à côté une plaque pour le Georges Legge. Je souhaite quand même préciser pour le 47e Commando que la stèle...
Regional officials, Port-en-Bessin wanted to do something on its own. So they've created a little bronze plaque which will be given to all the veterans because of the very strong friendship links that have existed for many years between the 47th Commando on the one hand, between the Montcalm and Georges Legge on the other.
Merci, monsieur. Bien, et bien maintenant nous allons nous tourner de l'autre côté pour boire le verre de l'amitié.
Madame le maire, s'il vous plaît. Madame le maire, pour
Tout à fait, les enfants ont droit au verre de limonade.
Merci beaucoup.
A few moments. Quiet! Can I have your kind attention, please? I could not let this occasion pass without saying a few words. Madam here speaks very good French, and I never understood a word of it.
Je ne peux pas laisser passer cette occasion sans dire quelque chose sans dire quelques mots de remerciement. Madame Huet parle très bien français, mais je n'en ai pas compris un seul mot.
I would like to thank all the people, Madam Hewitt, and all the people involved in putting this together. And I would like to thank very sincerely the children who gave me such a lovely reception. The children are the vision of the future, and the future lies with them. I particularly love children. I wish I had 1,000 all working. Left my crown in England. On the coach, and he's put money on that he wouldn't kiss the mayor. Peter, come and kiss the mayor.
Embrasser Madame le maire. Embrasser le maire.
I get half the money.
What do I tell him?
Tell him there's a steward's inquiry.
Steward's inquiry.
Because he's not kissed her, it's just a board cheek.
Hold it down below your face.
That's what I'm doing.
Why is the steward's inquiry? Why is the steward's inquiry?
Because he should have kissed the woman correctly. He's done him a friendship on board cheek. Not paying of that.
Right, well, it's good to meet you.
Very good to meet you.
I never met a Brook who pays up so promptly.
Do you call him that?
What's the message for Frost?
Tell Frosty Winter, he didn't think it had done the dirty on an old maid. Going back a lot of years, he's pinched his money with a French kiss on the
Marine Commandos. And here we're back at the chateau next morning.
No, he's got to wear them. You must get them straight, perhaps. His man Roberts will straighten his up, I expect, for him.
Well, do you think a lot of them will ask what this one is?
Probably is. I tell her I found it in the drawer. That's good enough, isn't it? Where did you get that? I found it in the drawer. Good answer. Thank you, sir. Stop it, Christopher.
It's just exposed his stomach.
I don't expose anything.
I can't.
I'm being pushed.
He loves it, really.
I don't. I loathe it.
No, yeah, that's what my father always said too.
No, this is the first time I have ever worn those things.
Yes, I the last. Yes.
And it will be the last, yes. And then
let's make a hole himself.
Merci mon grand. Allez-y.
Famous for all the battle sites in Normandy. The story of the capture of these two bridges, but in particular the Pegasus Bridge, and the heroism shown by men of the Oxford and Buckinghamshire Light Infantry, of the Glider Pilot Regiment, and of the 7th Battalion of the Parachute Regiment is legendary. I recall Air Chief Marshal Lee Mallory at the end of the war writing that the landing of the 3 gliders at Pegasus Bridge was, in his view, the finest piece of pure flying in the whole of the Second World War.
Hooray!
We have come here today to commemorate this memorable feat of ours. We've come here today to renew old and strong friendships. But I consider most important of all, we have come here today to remember those men who died in this place or hereabouts, and to that end, later this afternoon and tomorrow morning, we all gather at the cemetery at Normandy. President Clinton said 2 days ago that your children, the children of your generation, and I was 3 when these momentous events took place, owe you an enormous debt of gratitude for making the world a better place. And the world is a far, far better place than it was in the early days of January 1944. On a personal note, I would like to say how grand it is to see Major Howard here and looking in very good nick. And also to Madam Godfrey Pritchard and Madam, on behalf of all your family, for all the kindness, generosity and friendship that you have given us over all these years, since the very early hours of June the 6th, we are truly grateful. Thank you. But for you gentlemen on parade, this is your anniversary. This and tomorrow are your days, and I salute you.
I speak only on behalf of my regiment, the Glider Pilot Regiment. It was the last regiment raised by the British Army and the first to be disbanded. It was raised in 42, disbanded officially in 57, but faded away like old soldiers do in about 1947. A short but far from undistinguished career. We fought in Sicily, south of France, Normandy, Holland. We crossed the Rhine as a Brandfield Army. We weren't only pilots, we were first-class infantry. And among the many battles in which we took part, possibly this one in Normandy, stands out the most because we come here, the French make us so welcome, and we love it here. Thank you for listening.
Of all the veterans, I remember in particular the hard hours of the occupation as a little girl of 4, in the same way as I remember the few hours of our liberation. I'm enormously grateful to the glider pilots. I know how much it was hard. You were courageous, brave. You took on the responsibilities of going away with your gliders, carrying the troop, and you had many in them, the responsibilities of those lads and also of the wives and the children. And you knew you had those missions, you had to do it, and you did it. And you landed on the Normandy soil, unknown soil to you,
Voyons, on va aller
not
chercher après
knowing
maman.
whether you were going to be alive, and the rest of your comrades in the gliders. Those two bridges were taken intact as a Normandy operation was. Of course, the officer in charge of that was Major John Hart, and I greatly appreciate what he did. But one must not remember that had not it been for you, the pilots, the troop would not have landed close to those bridges, and the Catholic
Ils sont où le PC à ce niveau?
would not have become the first house liberated, and I would not be here to say a few words to you. I have been asked to speak for 2 minutes. As an honorary member of the Glide of my grateful thanks to you, the pilots, for what you have done. And I wish to commemorate the special 50th anniversary with the rest that you carry in your the Oxen Ducks, the Angelots. The 50th anniversary was a team effort, and I am enormously grateful on behalf of my parents, on behalf of the confrères, for what you have done. Thank you very much.
Second plane. Third plane. Fourth plane coming in. Fifth plane coming in. I can see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 planes coming in. Number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 I can see. Plane after plane, another one, another one, another one, and then another 3 in the distance. How many?
36. Ça va, monsieur? Ça va? Excusez-moi. How many aircraft?
Like 15, I think.
I think about 15. The last 2 or 3 were not British. I think one of those was Canadian.
That's Prince Charles, isn't it? Isn't that Prince Charles?
Maximum fast.
Parce que regarde avec the barrière.
And all the crowd was trying to get from there. We're so good in.
Right.
Oh, don't it?
Yeah, it is. This time. One good time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's you.
Papa, papa.
Va là-bas, là d'abord. Va là-bas d'abord.
That's General Richard Smith with him, who was the person who commanded the division in the Gulf. And that's Brigadier Holmes behind him, who is now commanding 5th Brigade. You get a letter from him?
Yeah, which is he?
Rupert Smith is the man who commanded the forces in the Gulf, divisional commander.
So where's he now?
He's on the right of Prince Charles. On the left, you've got the current commander of 5th Airborne Brigade, whose previous job was CO of 22. That's a bloke called Johnny Holmes.
Oui, au 40e, il était là. Oui. Par contre, moi j'étais bloqué à Caen, j'avais pas tout. À l'époque, il ne pas être sûr. Hein? Ah, il y en a un qui a le casque à la main. De toute façon, c'est les premiers qu'on jouait, là, quand je vais arriver. Peut-être qu'avec les jumelles, moi je le. La petite idée.
Comment ils sont tous regroupés là?
Lui qui avait fait le casque bleu, là.
Le Charlot, il a la tête. Elle est pas beau.
Ouais, on voit là.
Ouais.
Un téléphone, on le voit, hein?
Oui.
La télé. Normandy. Voilà. Il y en a un qui reste là-dedans.
Ah oui. Ils vont l'installer pour barbecue ce soir.
Major Howard.
I'm not sure it is actually, because he's wearing parachute regiment wings on his beret. This one, and Major Howard wasn't, was he? He was wearing the Ox and Bucks light infantry badge on.
The bus, I think it's up there.
Really?
So I must leave you.
Well, you must be very nice to see you, and thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your life very well indeed.
Joe, there's some buses up there.
Oh, as in Lord. And you landed D-Day in the afternoon?
Yeah, D-Day in the afternoon.
And you were back in bed with your wife that night?
The following night.
Honestly?
Yes, honestly.
And then you went into Arnhem?
Yes.
And what you thought, you were the pilot of what in Arnhem?
Pilot the glider in.
And no problems?
No, well, only when I was trying to get home, you know.
But what did you do when you landed? Did you say thank God for small mercies or
well,
what?
no, not after Arnhem, because it started almost at once, the battle, you see. The battle started almost at once.
Did it?
Yeah.
Did you exfiltrate by foot then, or out of Arnhem, or?
No, we tried to get into the bridge, because we got shut off at Oosterbeek, you see.
Yeah.
I took 28, I was a flight staff sergeant, I took 28 men in, I brought 2 back. I was the second pilot and my last second pilot.
Bloody hell.
And the Rhine crossing, I got shot down. From about 2,000 feet I got hit. But there you are. It's better to...
Lovely to meet you anyway.
And you.
What was the name of your friend?
Roy Howard.
We'll go the 2 glider pilots again. Hitchin on the right. Then in the afternoon, back in bed with his wife and it's night. And there on the left, he landed at night. Right, here we are now. Here's Peter on the phone to his daughter, the second daughter. He's already had one conversation. They keep ringing him, these girls. They ring every day, they say, every evening. This is 50 years on. 50 years ago today, he got blown up as he was landing. And tomorrow he's going to get his medal.
He's very embarrassing. I turn my toes up.
Here we are.
Yes, all boys.
He's worn very well, hasn't he? Just look at that. Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, Susie. But it was so good of Christopher to come down there with us on that day. And he met all the boys in the bus. And went round looking and taking videos of each one, close-ups, long ones, and talking to them. It really was. It was absolutely grand. But the boys nearly throttled the British ambassador yesterday, because they were all lined up right at the back of everywhere. And the British ambassador, this was wreath legs ceremony at our memorial. Yeah, and they sent in a load of Belgian commandos who weren't even anywhere near the port. And the chaps were so angry, they were called up to put their medals on and things. And finally the British ambassador came up to our chaps and said, hello, who are you chaps? And there was an air vice marshal with them and things, and the boys gave him absolutely bloody hell.
Very busy 4 days travelling around with this lovely lady, Patsy. I know you're not allowed to go anywhere without Patsy, and everywhere you've been, she's been, and she's been telling me how exciting it all was yesterday. But I think before we get on to yesterday, Peter, can you just now come back and refresh our memories on, say, the 5th of June, 1944. Where were you and how is it all going, and who told you what you were going to do?
Well, the 5th of June, everybody was all ready to go. And then, of course, it was put back 24 hours. It was all rather a come down. And everybody would have to stay under a hyped up state for another 24 hours.
And where were you actually?
We were on board in the in the Southampton water,
right.
Living on 2 boats, the Victoria, which was a merchant ship, and the Princess Josephine Charlotte, which was a Belgium Dover Ostend boat. And they had put the landing, they'd taken down their lifeship boats and hoisted the landing craft in their davits.
And you were quite confident that all would go well on the day?
Oh yes, I think we were so young and foolish that we thought there was a job to do, it would get done.
And you were a lieutenant in charge of how many men?
I had a section of Y Troop, which well, about 30 men, I suppose, 35.
And so when you came ashore with all 20 men, you were in one boat or 2 boats?
We were in one boat.
All you and 20 men in one boat was then hit a mine?
30 men, yes. So they took the easy way out and swam.
They did what?
So they took the easy way out and swam to the beach.
Right. So how many, there was a complete commando regiment or brigade, 48 commando?
47 commando, of approximately 500 men.
Right. And so they landed, you went one way, they went the other way, is that right?
Well, they landed, and their intention, the extreme right-hand side of Gold Beach, the object was to go in small groups, avoiding any action, if possible, and rendezvous on a little bump about 1.5 miles in from Port-en-Bassin, point 72 as it's marked on the map, and do the attack on the port from there.
And did it all go according to plan?
Well, not really, because the 47 lost a very great percentage of their weapons with the boats turning over and having to swim in. And so they rearmed themselves on captured weapons and formed up on point 72. They had several skirmishes on the way there, I believe. I wasn't with them because I hadn't got that far. And formed up and took the town the following day, which they finally captured just at sundown, pretty much, about 8 o'clock at night.
So you got Port-en-Bassin at 8 o'clock at night?
On D+1, on the 7th, yes.
On D+1?
D+1, yes. The plan was that it should be captured on D-Day, but it didn't happen. And the plan was also that Caen and Bayeux should be captured on D-Day, but they weren't.
And what are your memories yourself? Because you were one of many who got struck down. And how many boats? And I talked to another chap on our trip over there 3 days ago, and his boat was hit by a mine. He said he had about 4 killed, 5 killed.
Well, there were 14 landing craft that left the Josephine Charlotte and the Victoria, and of those 14, 2 got back to their mothership.
So all the rest were written off?
Yes, but I hastily add here that all those 12 weren't knocked out on the way in. 5 of them were. The rest were on the way back, going back home, going back to their ship.
So continuing on after D-Day, your regiment then continued on. You came back from hospital, and you had an interesting story, because when you came back from hospital to rejoin your regiment, I gather it wasn't straightforward at all.
Not exactly. No, a little bit comic. The boys got very angry because the CO had promised them, once they captured Port-en-Bassin, they would be returned to England for another job. And when troops were apparently in short supply, he told them he was very sorry that they weren't going back to England. They had to move into some trenches somewhere. And they were very, very put out indeed about that, because that was the job of pongos and infantry and things. It certainly wasn't the commander's job, and they should be back in England. And they were let down. They were very angry.
So you rejoined them, but you you weren't told in Southampton where they were?
No, I was told that I didn't know. I wasn't able to be told, because of security, where they were, but I was told to go and visit Night Headquarters, Naval Officer in Command, in Arromanches, and ask to speak to Captain Robinson, who was the Marine representative there. And this I did. And the naval officer there said, I said, can I speak to Captain Robinson? And they said, no, he'd been gone a month or what. And I said, well, his transport. Cameron has to transport to get us back to our unit. No, that's been reallocated. So then I said, well, what do I do with this heap? And they said, well, the best thing you could do is to go back to England and get a trip in a week's time, a bit farther up the coast, where you'll be near your unit, which obviously didn't work.
And you did your own thing?
Yes, we found a German dump of transport and picked up. I had a 52-seater single-decker bus, and I had been given permission by the Canadian General in Dieppe, whose caravan I'd invaded, thinking it was an information caravan. It wasn't, it was his headquarters. And he was absolutely first class and said, what's the trouble? And I told him. And he said, sure, you can have a bus. And I said, well, may I have a chitty? And he said, of course. And he gave a chitty. Now I need to get this bus, and a very rude officer came down and said, what are you doing? You can't have any of this transport at all. Colonel so-and-so's orders. And I said, well, here's General so-and-so's orders saying I can. And I got this bus, and we loaded the boys up in them, went back to Arromanches, loaded them up, and eventually wandered off down to our unit, finding them in Dunkirk.
Well done. And before we get back to the last few days, what did your 47 Commando do? Having done D-Day, what were the other actions? The next big one was
they came to down the road here, to Salonels. That was their next trip there. And they took up a defensive position. Actually, yes, defensive position, from where they did some very good fighting reconnaissance trips. Took 40 prisoners.
And then they went, a big action was Walker. Was that the next big action?
Then it was Walcheren on the 1st of November.
And then after that, crossing the Rhine, what was the next big action?
No, there was a toss-up, literally a toss-up, from 1st SS Brigade and 4th SS Brigade as to who would do the crossing of the Rhine and who would do Walcheren. And 4SS got Walcheren and the 1st SS got the crossing of the Rhine.
And at the end of the war, how many, roughly, of your 47 Commando had been killed or wounded?
That I would really have to look at the sort of old papers that I've got on that, Christopher. The officers had a big turnover. We had about 27 officers, and I suppose there really were only about half a dozen left at the end of the originals.
Really?
Yes.
So back to the originals, you, this last few days, have been celebrating with the French mayoress.
Yes.
And with the other Free French who were on a destroyer or two.
Yes.
I came with you that first night when you were welcomed by the school children. And then the big event was yesterday. Can you describe yesterday how they looked after you?
Well, there was one intention of the French yesterday, and that was, it was to be our day. And my God, it was.
And how did it go? You just described briefly.
They marched us, didn't they, Patty? They marched us around the town behind a monumental band, and it was, one felt very humble, actually.
And what did they present you with?
Well, they gave, as indeed they gave every veteran in the Normandy business, commemorative medal. Port-en-Bessin then went on, Port-en-Bessin rather, this is the port itself, not the Normandy Council. They gave us a video, which I haven't yet seen, videotape of Port-en-Bessin in wartime years and the attack on it. they gave us a lovely bronze medallion, which they had done for the 47th Commando people and the crew of the Montcalm and the other destroyer. And they just spoiled us rotten, really, didn't they, Patty? You felt very, very humble, like walking behind that, marching behind that band.
Every time 47 here, they clapped.
Yes, this would make you feel very humble, because there were about 28, 30 old men, and we were old men, behind the band, and all wearing on green berets. That was compulsory. And marching down the hill, around the streets of Port-au-Bassin, as the berets passed, the green berets passed the people who were watching on the side, the monumental clap went up.
Oh, lovely. And then you had a church service?
I had church service, yes. It brought tears to the boys' eyes. They were. It
really did.
Oh, yeah.
And then they unveiled a new monument, didn't they?
They had, yes, we knew nothing about that. They named a street, which was a surprise for us, to Rue 47 Royal Marine Commando. And although there was a little plaque, which you've seen in the port, they had done another one unbeknown to us, a lovely piece of granite. And this was unveiled with the national anthem, British national anthem, with one of our boys hoisting the Union Jack, Union flag, and then the Mayoress unveiled this quite big surprise for us, really.
And the Mayoress was in charge all the time,
yes,
was she?
Yes.
What was her name, do you know?
No, I don't. Yes, wait a minute, Madame Houet.
Right.
Madame Houet.
And they ended up with a dance?
Well, yes, Patty and I were a bit flaked out then, because after we had lunch, after all the proceedings, we had lunch
at what time?
8:30 at night.
Prepared and given to you by the locals?
Yes, it was a buffet lunch, well, it was for us, and indeed again the Montcalm, the two cruiser crews. They were there, they're just as old as we were, in a tent in the port, and it was packed with the local populace and the council and everybody, but the spotlight was, the French wanted it to be our day, and my God, they were successful, they really were.
And what about the Pluto? You haven't mentioned Pluto, because...
Well, yes, the school children were quite fun. Pluto, as you know, is the petrol line under the ocean, which came over from England. And initially, it landed, it had been 3/4 laid, and the importance of the capture of Port-au-Bassin was to enable the post office cable layer to finish laying that pipe and start pumping petrol into Europe, so that the tank boys wouldn't have to fill up their tanks with jerry cans. This happened, and so the Mayoress got, to bring back memories of yore, got all the school children to paint these plastic pipes, and they had them all around the town. And nobody quite understood why it was there, but it was in fact to represent petrol line under the water.
Well done. And didn't you say that in the days of 1944, they forgot to turn the petrol off?
Yes, they did, yes. That was amusing. When Antwerp was captured by the British, I think, and Walcheren was captured, the island of Walcheren, at the mouth of the Scheldt, this enabled the place to be cleared of mines, and the Allies had an enormous port of Antwerp, where tankers could come in. But nobody told the chaps in England that to turn off the tap. And so the boys in Port-au-Bassin, they think they were the greatest things ever happened, because they had free petrol for goodness knows how long, and they were going on and having themselves petrol.
Well, why don't you get your map organised? I can just sort of put this on the map so very well. Just have a word with Patsy. So we'll get the map organised where you see Port-au-Bassin. Patsy, you must be very excited for the whole trip. Was it all worthwhile?
I thought it was very moving. It was one of those very sincere celebrations. Everybody seemed to go out of their way to be extremely nice. Strangers came up and spoke to Peter. A few asked him for an autograph, and it was pleasant that they were all young men. Some of them looked as though they were military men, and they were all tremendously interested. One came along, even with long hair, and wanted to know the exact sequence of events after the landing, and questioned Peter really quite intelligently about it all. He'd obviously studied the whole landing section of that particular area, and he wanted to verify various facts.
No, nice. And you had a few widows, didn't you?
Yes, there were two widows there who came up and got their late husband's medals, and there was also the daughter of a man who had been in a wheelchair and had died about 3 months ago, and she came up to get her father's medal.
Oh, nice. Well, now you're going to show me on the map just for the record.
I think I should say here, Christopher, that the really sort of main event of this was meeting the 30 chaps after 50 years. That was a very moving experience, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So many of those, Peter, you literally had not seen for 30 years?
Well, that is a little bit of a fib. I actually met them for about 10 minutes by mistake last year in the cemetery. Well, they were at the 49th anniversary, and they wanted me to join them on their little tour round, but I couldn't. I had to go and catch a ferry. So they let me go on pain of death that I would join them on the big day, which was this year, on the 50th.
So there you have, looking at the map there.
There are Gull Beach, landing point here.
That's just on the east of Aramonch.
Yes.
Yes. And
then making their way round to a point 0.72, which is just about where that 7 is there, a little bump, hillock, and the attack went in from behind.
And there's Port Bassin.
And there's Port Bassin there.
And what was on the west of Port Bassin? The Americans were at Omaha.
There was nothing then at all until Omaha. Well, there was Omaha Beach here.
There's Omaha, that was the Americans, that's right, there's Omaha.
And the great thing was that 47 was supposed to meet up with the Americans to fill this gap.
And the Free French came in off Port Bassin with their 2 destroyers.
They had the Montcalm and the Georges, I forget his name now, Georges Louge, I think.
Now what you mentioned, this I can see on the map now, Aramonch and Gold Beach, there was this gun, this battery.
The battery at Lange.
Where was that now?
That was here.
Right.
They had 6 guns, very, very big ones, they're still there, but only the eastern one could get round to cope with the beaches. The others were facing out seawards. And it's interesting to note, the 6 guns that are there now, they are the only battery on the coast retaining their original guns. And number 1 gun, which did the damage of the beaches, all of them had escaped bombardments and things like that. And 3 cheers to the Ajax, HMS Ajax, because she saw what was happening, and she moved right close in and flattened number 1 gun. And if you go down and see that battery, you'll see that it's a very flattened gun.
Well, as a complete observer, and being very young at the time, having listened to the Queen's speech and seen all of you with your very old partners in battle, I think it's very moving, as Patsy said, that the local French were so grateful and thanking you.
Oh, they have been quite indescribably wonderful over this, they really have.
Well, I hope you'll be back to join us here for another reunion. In the meantime,
as long as we haven't disgraced ourselves. Yes.
I hope you and Patsy have a good trip back, and that you don't disgrace yourself going back. You've done very well here. You've only failed to get your daughters there, that's any problem.
Well, our one big thank you, and we must say this, Patsy, mustn't we, now, that if it hadn't been for Christopher and Elizabeth, we wouldn't have had this at all.
No, we shouldn't have been here.
We wouldn't have been here.
Tremendously
knowing the 2 of you, there's nothing would have stopped you, that's as simple as that.
Merci beaucoup.
Now, vous avez Pierre Mollard, Monsieur Mollard, avec la Peter Winter qui arrive pour savoir la famille de Monsieur Mollard.
Oui.
Now, qu'est-ce que vous dites, Pierre?
Moi, je dis merci beaucoup. Bon souvenir.
Merci à vous, Pierre.
Merci encore. Merci beaucoup.
Pierre has now been cutting the grass with his new machine. There's Pierre going off for the new machine. You can see the results already. Yet to be finished. And this will all be done, no doubt, quite soon. He's going to tackle this mammoth mound all around the edge of the buildings. But you can see already down here this morning, and going right on down, all totally cleaned, cleared off. And now, with my straw, he organised all along that hedge, that fence yesterday, 2 days ago.